Good morning. My name is Rajesh Srivastav, and I'm from RSR Global, United Kingdom. Uh, we are joined together to discuss and look at the very important aspect of people who are traveling abroad, IELTS. It's an important program, it's an important course which is conducted and organized by British Council, and they are based across the world. Today's session is recorded, and the recording of the session will be available on various social media platforms of RSR Global. A couple of important aspects to cover. Please keep your microphone switched off. We will take the questions at the end of the presentation. You can contact RSR Global on contact@rsrglobal.co, or you can visit our website at www.rsrglobal.co. You can call us on 0044 800 256 2978. This is the number for UK. RSR Global has a dedicated team of advisors who deliver personalized support to each student through every step of admissions process, from choosing an institute, applications, student visas, and loans. We have a great worldwide presence with offices in over 11 countries. It gives our clients, our candidates, prospective students, with guidance to some of the most widely acclaimed universities across the world. I'm honored to present to you some very distinguished members of team from British Council. Mr. Rajesh Bhojani, who is the Business Development Manager from British Council, Mumbai. Mr. Raj Tiwari, he's the Business Development Manager from British Council, Calcutta. And Ms. Anuradha ji, who's part of a company organization. She's also a State Director of RSR Global Ranchi, but at the same time, she is also Managing Director of an institute called Gyan Institute, which has been in the field of training and teaching students on IELTS for the last 10 years. The session today is divided into two parts. The first part is a small talk by Ms. Anuradha ji on her journey, further by Mr. Rajesh Bhojani, who will talk to us on IELTS by British Council. Subsequently, we'll take question and answers or through the chat line. So I will, without wasting further ado, I would like to invite Anuradha ji. Madam, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Rajesh ji. This is again putting wine into old bottle, new wine into old bottle. About my presentation last week, this again deals with IELTS, which is a very important factor if anyone wants to go abroad. And for that matter, IELTS has become important in India now also because of various reasons. All hospitals and nursing homes are all looking for IELTS certificate in candidates. And I have been teaching and training students for the last 10 years, like Rajesh ji told you. And my journey with British Council is very satisfying and a wonderful journey, because all the team members, they have helped me along on the way to grow and to expand. And starting with one student now, I can proudly say that more than 200 students have passed through my hands. So it's a wide open world. Anyone who wants to achieve their dreams can always contact British Council and Rajesh ji for that matter. And they can always nurture their dreams, and sky is the limit. But IELTS is one thing which you have to pass. And more information on IELTS will be added by Mr. Rajesh Bhojani. So I think this is enough about from my side, and I'll request Mr. Bhojani to continue from here.
Right. Thank you, Anuradha ji, and thank you, Rajesh ji, for inviting us, and welcome everybody. It is really a pleasure to talk to such a wide range of audience from various countries and so on. As you must be aware, IELTS is an exam which is accepted all over the world by colleges, universities, as well as visa authorities for both going overseas as a student or
Morning,
going
sir.
overseas as for work. Right. So I will take you through a very brief presentation, and after that, like Rajesh ji said, we will answer a few questions. Okay. So let me just share the presentation with you all. Right. Can you all see this presentation slide?
Yes,
Welcome.
sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. So, as I said, IELTS is accepted by over 10,000 organizations across the world. This includes, say, 3,000 colleges and universities in the US. It is accepted across UK, Australia, and of course Canada. Majority of the people going from India, particularly, are going to Canada, and it is accepted by all the colleges, universities, and most important, the visa authorities for student visa, for PR, and so on. Okay, and of course, all the other countries, over 140 countries, accept IELTS. So, one question which a lot of people ask us is which version we should take. So, basically, you can take, yeah, you can, as you might be aware, there is IELTS Academic and IELTS General Training. So IELTS Academic is essentially for students, particularly required for admissions in good colleges and universities. And IELTS General is to be taken by those who are going for work, particularly for PR of various countries, including UK, USA, Canada, and Australia, and New Zealand. So the test format essentially, as you all must be knowing, it has four components: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So as far as the academic and general is concerned, the listening part and speaking part are absolutely identical. Only the reading and writing are slightly different. Okay, the aim is basically to look at your English proficiency, and they are very similar. So the listening section is of 30 minutes where a CD is played and you have to answer 40 questions which are spread over four sections. So four recordings are played in the CD. Then you have reading. So reading is for 60 minutes. Here you have three sections and again you have to answer 40 questions. So whether it is general or academic, the number of questions are the same, but the context is slightly different. When it comes to writing, again, it is a 60-minute test with two tasks, okay, task one and task two, essentially two different types of essays. And lastly, you have speaking. The speaking is conducted one-to-one by an IELTS examiner, okay, who is an expert examiner. And it happens, the speaking test happens up to 7 days prior or 7 days after the listening, reading, writing test. And it is always face to face. Right. So about listening section, like I said, the format of the test is of 4 parts, 10 questions and 40 questions. The questions are asked in a variety of accents, but that does not mean it is difficult to follow. The accents may be whatever, but they make it possible for anybody to follow. And the questions become more and more complex as you move into the test. So the first part is the easiest and the last part is the most challenging one. The main skill targeted are you understanding the main ideas stated in the recordings? Recognizing the opinions, attitudes, and purpose of the speaker, and are you following the development of the argument? Right. It is an objective type test, and you have to write on an OMR. Objective could mean multiple choice, or it also means sometimes answer in maximum 3 words or 2 words, and so on. Okay. So I'll go to the listening tips. Essentially, it is very important to concentrate. Okay, listening is all about concentration. If you lose concentration for even a few seconds, you will miss out on one or two sections. And therefore practicing is very, very important. Please, if you are attending some coaching classes, you practice there, or across the internet. There are a lot of practice questions on British Council YouTube page. We have many practice sessions, and once you enroll with British Council, we will send you a book, and also you will get access to what we call Road to IELTS, where also you can practice. When it comes to listening, multitasking again is important, because while you are listening, you should also be reading the questions and then scribble away the answers. Okay, the questions, mind you, can be slightly tricky. Okay, so what happens is, for example, there may be a conversation between somebody who is buying a ticket to some railway station, and then he changes his mind and then goes to a different station, and therefore the rate of the ticket changes. So, the question may be, what is the amount paid? But you have to listen to it very carefully. So a lot of questions are tricky that way. That is because the opinions are changed halfway through and so on. Now, what is important is that the questions follow the chronological order of the passages. So the answer to the first question would be somewhere in the initial part of the recording, and then the next question also would be following, and so on. So you don't have to listen to the whole passage to start writing the answers. As soon as you find the keyword, which is the answer, you can keep scribbling. Okay, and it is important that you attempt all the questions. So even if you have missed out on something, you can then do some guesswork and write, because there are no negative marks at all in listening or any of the parts of the test. So now we come to the reading section. Reading format, again, it has 40 questions spread over 3 passages. All of these are general interest topics, so you don't have to have any specialist knowledge. Okay, again, here you're tested for main ideas and detail, understanding inferences and implied meanings, and recognizing the writer's opinion. Now, reading is the only part where speed is also important, because you can run out of time if you are slow at it. So I will just take you through some of the tips. Yeah, so time management is very, very important, because if you read the entire passage and then you go to the questions, then you will run out of time. So that is why what we suggest is this skimming and scanning. Okay, so the best way is to first read the first couple of questions, okay, before you read the passage. So first 2 or 3 questions you read, and then you skim through. Okay, you skim through the passage. Just look at the headlines of all the paragraphs, so that you get an idea about what the passage is all about. And then you scan, that is, you go into the paragraphs quickly to look for the answers. So the answer may be a key number, or it can maybe some part of the passage. So this skimming and scanning will save a lot of time and provide accuracy also. So that is why it is best to go from questions and then go to the passage. Look for synonyms. Okay, so the word that will be used in the question will be different from the word that is used in the passage. Okay, for example, it might say in the passage that if you are a cook, you have got to be creative, you have got to be innovative. And in the question, the choice may be you have to be creative. Okay, so these kind of synonyms are very important. You cannot be getting exactly the same word in the question as is there in the passage. That is why practice synonyms and use only the stated number of words. This is very important. There are a lot of questions which will state that give answer in maximum 3 words or give answer in maximum 2 words. So, if you have given correct answer, but you have taken 4 words, then you will be marked wrong, right? And practice is very, very important in reading. Like I said, reading is one test where time management is important, and there is a chance that you'll run out of time because going through all the three passages can take quite a bit of time. So practice, practice, practice. You can read the newspapers every day or read any novels or whatever, but a good amount of reading will give you a kind of idea about how to attempt the reading test. Now we come to writing. Now, writing and speaking are not objective type. Okay, these are subjective type. So your expert examiner is going to take the go through what you have written. So here there are a few things that are very important. Okay. Now, firstly about the format. So as when you come to academic writing, the first task is about a graph or a table or a chart that is given. And then there are a number of questions related to that. So though the answers are essay type, but you have to stick to what is there in the table. Okay. And task two of both general as well as academic are basically an essay. Okay, you may be asked an essay about, let us say, it could be any environmental issue, or it can be any policy issue, or it can be something like, let us say, should the governments spend money on sports? Okay, but the second task invariably has sub questions also within that. So there may be 3 or 4 sub questions. Should the government spend money on sports, on promoting sports? Do you think sports is important for in schools, etc., and so on? Okay, so you have to address each and every part. If you miss out on one part of those questions, then you can lose valuable marks. So a lot of people write their essay in very good English, but they miss out on one component of the question. So there they lose marks. So when it comes to general writing, there is the task one is slightly different. And here you are usually asked to write a letter. Okay, it may be a formal letter or an informal letter. Right. So the tips again, task one carries 1/3 marks, while task two carries 2/3 marks. So out of your 60 minutes, you should spend 40 minutes in task two and only 20 minutes on task one. So a lot of people start with task one and spend a lot of time on it and then are not left with enough time for task two. But actually task two is far more important and you must time yourself for that. Read the questions carefully and, like I said, address all parts of the questions. Okay. Be mindful of the assessment criteria. Like I said, do not exceed the word limit too much. Okay, so task one is usually 150 words in general, and task two is 250. So if you exceed 250 words, there is no problem at all. You will not lose marks. But if you go on and on, the chances of making mistakes are higher. It is better to write, let us say, 260 to 270 words or so. And then whatever time you have, you go through your passage and correct whatever is required. Even the best essays require some corrections. Okay, and you proofread your answers. Like I said, that is very important because there is a chance that you might have made spelling mistakes or you might have made grammatical mistakes. Now, planning of your writing is very important. How you structure your answer, particularly task two, is as important as what you have written in it. So there should be introduction and then there should be body paragraphs and there should be conclusion. Okay, I will just quickly take you through that. And in task one, do not exceed the scope of the question because sometimes you are given very specific charts and you are asked questions related to that. So you cannot go and write general answers, right? So I'll just, yeah. So you know how to structure your task 2 essay. That is very important. So there must be an introduction. There must be 2 or 3 body paragraphs. Okay, and there should be a conclusion. Okay, if you follow this rule itself, you can get very good marks. In the introduction, you restate the topic in your own words. Do not repeat the same thing, but you restate it in your own words and you give your position. Okay, like I said, the question may be something related to an environment issue, or it could be sports or whatever. So, should the government spend money on sports? So, you should state yes or no and why. So, very briefly in introduction, you state that. And then in 2 or 3 paragraphs, you give 2 or 3 ideas. Okay, so main ideas and supporting ideas. And finally, you write a conclusion where you restate your position that I agree that sports is important, etc. And then summarize whatever views that you have expressed. And you can actually write in conclusion or in the end, I would like to emphasize or to conclude or whatever, so that it becomes very, very clear that you have structured the whole essay very well. So this is very, very important, apart from the fact that you should write good English and use words which are not very, very common. Okay. So finally, coming to the speaking section. Okay, I will take you through 1 second. So this is the format of the speaking section. Okay. So initially there is introduction of 4 to 5 minutes maximum. Okay, then there is a monologue. Now this monologue is very, very important, where you have to speak continuously for 2 full minutes. Okay, and for that you are given 1 minute preparation time. You are given a sheet of paper and pen or pencil, and you can jot down whatever. Now, this 2 minutes is quite a long time. So a lot of people just talk for 1 minute and then give up. You should try and complete full 2 minutes. You will be stopped at the end of 2 minutes by the examiner, and there is no harm if you are stopped by the examiner. In fact, that means you are doing well and you have utilized the full 2 minutes. Okay. And then finally, there is a discussion where there are follow-up questions, which goes on for 4 to 5 minutes. Okay. So what is the assessment criteria? One is fluency and coherence. Okay. So how fluently and how smoothly and coherently you talk. Second is lexical resource, which is nothing but your vocabulary. So if you use very simple words, then you will get lower marks, but you use uncommon words, then you will get higher marks. But make sure that the words you use, you know the meaning and they are used in the right context. And the grammatical range and accuracy also, like the sentences you make, the tenses that you use, whether that is consistent or not. And finally, pronunciation. Actually, pronunciation doesn't matter too much, but sometimes the meaning itself changes because of the pronunciation. For example, somebody says fill instead of feel. Okay, so there the meaning itself changes. But if you have a slight accent, don't bother about it at all. Everybody has accents. So that is okay. But pronunciation, to the extent that your meaning changes, can cause lower band score. So about speaking, practice introduction. So introduction is the only part that you can really practice. Okay, listen to the question carefully. Again, there are 2 or 3 parts to the question. So make sure that you are answering all parts. Avoid very brief or monosyllabic answers. Focus on the bullet points in the question. Like I said, the 2-minute question will have 3 or 4 bullet points, and you have to address each one of those. If you miss out on any, you could lose marks. Okay. Use wide range of vocabulary so that the examiner knows that your English is good. Use your imagination. Okay. This is a test of English and English only. So whatever be the topic, don't bother. You can kind of freak out and widen your scope of the answer. For example, you may be asked to describe your house. So if you are very factual, you say that I live in a two-bedroom house and we have a nice kitchen, etc. You may not be able to bring out your English very well. But if you say, I have a lovely view from my balcony and I can see the whole world, and we have a well-equipped kitchen where I love cooking, etc., etc. That way, if you use your imagination a bit, you will be able to express and demonstrate your English far, far better. And you should not keep changing your tense, something in past tense and something in future tense. So that shows inaccuracy in the English. So now we have computer delivered IELTS as well as normal pen and paper IELTS. While a majority of the students are still taking pen and paper IELTS, we also offer computer delivered IELTS in our centers. Okay, so in India, we conduct the test in about 60 cities, that is pen and paper. But in about 12 cities, we also offer computer-based IELTS in our centers, like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, etc. But the computer-based, computer-delivered IELTS is exactly the same as the pen and paper IELTS. The same standard, same content, same preparation, same result format. In fact, the result does not state whether you're taken computer-based IELTS or pen and paper. The speaking test is the same face-to-face speaking test. Also, the difference is that within 5 days, you get your results for computer delivered, while in pen and paper, you get it in 13 days, right? And another minor difference is that when you are writing, in your writing, the word count is given. Okay, so you don't have to keep counting whether I've completed 250 words or not. So it will show the number of words at the top. But of course, there is no spell check, so it will not correct your spellings or give you even any hint whether the spellings are correct or not. So more and more working professionals are preferring computer-based IELTS now. Right. So at British Council, we provide various resources. One is we provide you a free practice book. When you enroll with British Council, you get a Road to IELTS access free, which is 30 hours of practice time. Please go to our YouTube channel, British Council YouTube channel. There are a lot of videos and practice sessions there. There is a 6-week course available on a MOOC on a website called futurelearn.com. Okay, that is FUTURE futurelearn.com. And lastly, on our Facebook page also, there are a lot of resources available. Right. Right, so that brings us to the end of my presentation. I will stop sharing now. You can ask your questions, and over to Mr. Rajesh. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Bhojani. It was an absolute wonderful presentation on IELTS. A lot of people had a lot of questions, and the questions are just flying in through from left, right, and center from all the aspects. So I'm going to keep you busy for next 30 minutes. Okay, Mr. Bhojani, Mr. Tiwari, and Ms. Anuradha Jaiswalji, the questions comes in. Let me read it out one by one. One of the first question which came along, Mr. Bhojani, and the gentleman has asked me if we can kindly have a copy of the PPT. Is that possible? Because I think it's a very helpful thing.
Surely, yeah. I will mail you the PPT and you can send it across to people. Yeah.
That's very kind of Mr. Bhojani, because people, they need all the information, and more the information comes along is handful and handy for them.
Surely.
And what we do is we will collect a PPT presentation which has been made by Mr. Bhojani. You can write to us on contact@rsrglobal.co. Furthermore, all those people who have registered with us today for the session, we will email you a copy of the PPT as well. So that's very kind. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhojani. One of the major questions which keeps on coming time and time, and that is on IELTS UKVI, IELTS General. First thing, what is the difference? And is it and how it helps? What is the main criteria? What differentiates the two things?
Okay. So basically, like I said, you have IELTS regular and IELTS academic and IELTS general. Okay, and then you have IELTS for UKVI. Now, IELTS for UKVI is exactly the same as the regular IELTS. Okay, so IELTS UKVI is also available in both academic and general. IELTS for UKVI, or what is called UKVI IELTS, is essentially we have additional security there. Okay, that is, it is recorded, etc., etc. But the test is exactly the same. The papers are the same. The criteria is the same. The band score given is the same on the same pattern with the same by the same examiners and so on. Only the security level is higher and it is recorded and so on. Now, some UK colleges and institutions require UKVI IELTS. Okay, this is, I believe, required for non-degree courses. Okay, sometimes people go even not for bachelor's, but before bachelor's or for some diplomas and some specialist courses and so on. They require UKVI IELTS. Okay, so and certain visa categories also require UKVI IELTS. But you must check with the institution for which you are applying before taking the right test. So only the college or the institution can tell you which test to take. Also, the UKVI website, okay, gives a lot of details. So you can go to the UK Visa and Immigration website, and they will also provide some details. Now, apart from IELTS and IELTS for UKVI, there is also IELTS Life Skills. Okay, that again is applicable for certain categories of UK visas like spouse visas. Okay, that is a fairly simple test for spouse visas and some categories. That is an A1 and A2, A1 and B1 categories. But you must check with the visa authorities and the college and the advisor whom you are consulting before taking the test. Right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bhojani. Next question comes out, sir, and this comes from Mr. Anil, who wants to know how long is IELTS score valid for a student?
Yeah, so the IELTS score is valid for 2 years, essentially. Okay, so it is all the visa authorities and all consider it valid for 2 years from the date of the exam. Right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bhojani. Question comes from Mr. Barry. He is based in South Africa and he wants to know people with English as a first or second language, do they also have to go through IELTS for employment in the UK?
So you have to check with your employer. See, sometimes the employer requires it, and sometimes the visa authorities require it. Say, even if the employer doesn't require it. So you must check with your employer and the visa authorities before concluding. But in most cases, particularly for visas, you do require IELTS.
Very kind, Mr. Bhojani. Question comes from Bangladesh. Mr. Rajibul wants to know what help is available in Bangladesh in terms of books or coaching for IELTS. Where can he get all the relevant information?
Surely. So every country of British Council has presence. There is a exclusive website. So go to British Council Bangladesh website and you will find all the resources, and you can book the test also on any of our websites. Okay, so you will be able to find the resources there besides on our YouTube channel and so on also.
That's very kind, Mr. Bhojani. Thank you very much, sir. Another question from Mr. Anil, who asked previously about the validity of IELTS for students. What is the validity for IELTS for jobs, employment? Is it still 2 years or any different, sir?
So that will entirely depend upon the employer. Okay, so as such, the validity is 2 years, and that is what almost all education institutions and visa authorities consider it for. But if some employer is willing to take an older TRF, your mark sheet that is fine. So it is best to check with the employer itself. But in most cases, it is 2 years. And visa authorities also consider it for 2 years.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhojani. Another question, obviously, the questions are coming fast and wide. Another question which comes out, question is on the fees. How much is the fees for UK IELTS? And what if they pay the fees and on the day of the examination they are absent or sick? Can this fees be taken forward, or if they
Yeah.
keep the British Council informed that they can't come for examination on a particular date, sir?
No, we are quite empathetic about such things. So in India, the fees is 14,000 rupees. Okay, so that should be about 150 pounds or so. Uh, yeah. In every country it varies, but it is approximately similar in the local currency. So every local website provides you the details of the fees. So you can get your test date changed if you are sick, or there is some, a very important official assignment for which you have the proof. Okay, and also of the illness. Currently, in COVID times, we are even more empathetic, and even anybody who has a COVID patient among their relatives, or they are in lockdown areas or so, we are postponing or we are transferring them to future date without any additional cost at all. So all those conditions are stated on each of our websites, and for various reasons, you can get your test date changed, sometimes even at a short notice, or for illness, definitely we do consider that.
Thank you, Mr.
Right.
Bhujani. I appreciate. There's going to be two questions. The second question goes to Mrs. Anuradha Jaiswalji. But before she answers, this question actually is on the IELTS requirement for doctors, nurses, and students going from India to UK. I will come to that question second. But first thing which I need to do, sir, and this question goes to Mr. Bhujani. And the question is, do other countries accept UKVI results, or is it only for UK?
Now, usually UKVI results are accepted as normal IELTS also, though the reverse may not be true. If some college is accepting in UK only UKVI IELTS, then they may not accept the normal results, normal IELTS results, but UKVI IELTS results are accepted by other institutions also usually.
Thank you very
Right.
much, Mr. Bhujani. Obviously, I'll go back to Ms. Anuradha ji. Madam, would you
Yes.
like to talk us through on IELTS scores requirement for doctors, nurses, and medical professionals coming from India or any part of the world to work in the UK National Health Services and other institutions?
Anyone who's going to UK needs to give academic. They need to give academic IELTS, and their band should be overall 7.5 and 7 overall. As in each module, sorry, each module 7, and nurses even need 8 band. Some hospitals they require their doctors results should be 8 overall 8 with 7.5 in all the 4 modules each.
Thank you very much, madam. Mr. Bhujani, this is a lot of questions within one question. I will put it into a different perspective. First is the duration of the course. Course fees you just mentioned about 14,000 rupees. Exam centers, how often the exam takes place, and courses conducted as per the syllabus latest or on based on the 2016 edition. So multiple questions: the duration of the course, exam
Right.
centers, when and how it is taking place, and is the syllabus based something new, or is it still based on 2016 version?
Right. So see, IELTS is basically just an exam. Okay, it is. We are not. In some countries, we do conduct the course, but it is an exam. Okay, where the you get band scores from 1 to 9. Okay, so 9 is the best score that you can have, and 1 is the lowest. So it is not a course anybody's. You can even just simply go and write, and if you're good at English, then you can even get very good scores. There is, like I said, online courses, like there is a 6-week course on the MOOC futurelearn.com, which is designed by the British Council, and a lot of experts do conduct IELTS courses. Uh, then you said the question, yeah, where is it conducted and how frequently? So IELTS, we conduct IELTS in almost 110 countries. Okay, and in every country there are so many cities. Okay, like in India, we conduct it in 60 cities across the country. Okay, all those centers are available on our website, and you can select from the website. And from our website, you can book the date on any date. Okay, like next 3 months dates are open, and we're about to open up to June. So the pen and paper IELTS is conducted 4 times every month. Okay, 2 of those dates are only academic, and the remaining 2 are academic as well as general. Okay, and UKVI IELTS is typically conducted once in a month. Now, in different cities, it is different. So, bigger cities like say Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, and all, and so many other cities in Punjab and Gujarat and so on, we conduct all the 4 tests for pen and paper. But as far as the other cities are concerned, say smaller cities like, let's say, Raipur, Bhubaneswar, or so on, there we conduct once in a month. But typically, as such, 4 dates, out of which 3 are Saturdays and 1 is a Thursday. So that is about pen and paper. As far as computer delivered is concerned, it can be on any day of the week. Okay, some cities we restrict it to weekends, but in many cities we do it almost 6 days in a week. So it all depends. But pen and paper, usually there are 4 dates every month when IELTS is conducted.
Thank you, Mr.
Right,
Bajani.
thank you.
Really appreciate, sir. Another question which comes from Mr. Das. He wants to know, you mentioned the fees of 14,000 rupees for IELTS. Does it include taxes, or does it adds more taxes? Because your website states 15,050 as your as the fees, sir, for the IELTS.
No. The IELTS fee is 14,000, including all taxes. I think IELTS for UKVI is that 15,000, whatever. But
15,050.
IELTS general and academic is 14,000.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
very
there
kind.
is inclusive of all taxes, everything.
That's very kind, sir. Question comes from Mr. Satya. What is the maximum score achievable for IELTS? I suppose it's 9. Correct me if I'm wrong, sir.
Yeah, that is right. It's 9 band
And then
in
another
each
question
of the
comes. That's very kind. So another thing which comes along is a little bit of talk on the different banding of the IELTS. Like from, I suppose the band starts from 1 to 9. What is the least needed for a spouse to travel to UK? Second thing is obviously we have answered the question. You've answered the question on nursing, and if you like, just talk about the little banding structure on the IELTS scoring.
ma'am you're talking. Yeah. So, see, one thing I would suggest is that there is something called a band descriptor. Okay. So, if you Google band descriptor, you will come across all the details about what is the criteria and at each band score, what is the level. Okay. So, there is band descriptor which gives you the details. Okay. About spouses and all, I think Anuradha ma'am can possibly throw some light uh, about how.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, spouse. It is compulsory for the spouses to also get an IELTS certificate. But the organizations or the spouse who's already there settled, they can arrange for this visa, and it is somewhere from 3 to 5 band.
Okay,
Right.
thank you, ma'am. Really appreciate. Yeah, I think this is important because
In
this.
some countries or in some organizations, 5 to 5.5 is the accepted band,
Okay,
and
that's very.
that in general module.
Thank you, Mr. Anuradhaji. It's very nice. I think obviously it's a matter of a bit debate out here in the UK in the Parliament. People who came in the old days previously, when they tried to get on board and acquire British nationality or permanent residency, one of the basic criteria which was incorporated was to get a certain level of English speaking, reading, and writing. And a lot of countries where English is not the first uh, language, obviously they struggled. But I suppose the things were made stringent, and people came or who are coming now from different part of the world. Obviously, certain expectations are there for people to understand, read, and write English. So, thank you very much, Anuradha ji. It's very nice and helpful. A question comes, sir, from Bangladesh. Mr. Rajibul wants to know the IELTS scores for UK or Australia. They are same for studies, or do they vary, which you have mentioned previously, institutes to institutes, sir?
Yeah, so it does vary from institute to institute. Some prestigious institutes ask for 7 band or so, while some are willing to take candidates at 6 band also, or 5 or 5.5 also. So it varies from institute to institute. But the test is essentially identical. A lot of people think that in one city, if you take, you'll get better score versus other cities, and they often think that in smaller towns you can get better score. But IELTS is a highly standardized test, and everywhere in the world it is exactly the same test, and the same criteria is used to give the band score, and it does not vary at all. But from institute to institute, the admission criteria does vary, right?
Thank you very much, Mr. Bojani. One of the matter which is very widely debated and within the organization at RSR Global and beyond, and that has come from Dr. Tijore, and he mentions and he wants to know, how do we become an IELTS registered partner?
Okay. Yeah, so you can write to. So there is a website. There is an address on our website called IELTS Partners. Okay, at I think BritishCouncil.org. You can become a registered partner, and also on the BritishCouncil.org website, you have a link from where you can become a partner. Alternatively, you can send an email to us, or you can send an email to Rajesh ji, and they will forward it to us, and we can take it forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bajani. Really appreciate, sir. We will go to the last three questions because we're coming to the end of the session. One of the major aspects which is comes time and time again, I think you have mentioned previously, and this question comes from Mr. Sushil, who wants to know the difference between computer-based and pen and paper examination. I think you have covered it previously, but if you like to elaborate further on this, sir.
Yeah. So it is exactly the same test. Okay. There is no difference, but a lot of people these days are more comfortable on the computer. Okay. So it is as such, the questions are identical. And so we do not conduct it. It is not from at home test. Okay. You have to come to our centers, which we have set up in 12 or so cities across India, and we are adding more and more cities as we go along. So the listening is exactly like the same 30 minutes, and the questions only you have to mark the answers on the computer, where you don't have to write it on an OMR. Similarly, the writing test, you have the writing passage on one side and the answers to be written on the other side, and you can use the keyboard or the mouse to do that. And as far as the writing test is concerned, again, yeah, like I said, the advantage is that the word count appears on the computer, so that you don't have to sit and count the words. Now, for a lot of working professionals like us, who are not used to writing long essays and have lost the practice of writing on pen and paper, will find computer test to be a lot easier. While a lot of people who have given exams, and most of us give exams usually or by pen and paper are more comfortable. So we are offering both the options. In both the tests, the speaking test is one-to-one with the examiner. So we believe that it is very important that the candidate is at comfort when the questions are asked by an actual examiner. So that part of the test we have kept face to face. So as such, there is no difference, but people depends upon whether you are more comfortable with the computer or writing on paper.
Thank you, Mr. Bhujani. Two very vital questions. One, I'm not sure if a British Council is any helpful in this matter or not, but a general question which has come out from Mr. Rajibul from Bangladesh, and he wants to know, can high IELTS band any helpful at the time of acquiring visa to come to work in any country? I'm not sure whether the British Council anywhere related to this. If you'd like to elaborate further on that, sir.
Yeah, so I don't know about coming to a country. It matters in the sense that different countries do have criteria. For example, if you go through the guidelines of Canada PR, okay, so they do have what they call CRS 8 and 9 and so on. So if you have 8 in listening and 777, then you get a certain number of points, and you get higher points if you get higher score, and you get lower points if you get lower than that. So like Canada PR, clearly there is a difference. But about other visas, I'm not so sure. But I think getting an admission into a prestigious institution improves your chances of getting the visa also. So definitely better score does help you get the visa a lot more easily.
Thank you, Mr. Bhujani. Really appreciate it. We'll have the last two questions coming to you, Mr. Bhujani. First question is, if I'm not sure whether you'll be able to answer on this or not, sir. The question is, can they have a registered office for IELTS in Kyiv, in Ukraine? Because a lot of people are interested to travel abroad, and they are struggling to get enough information how to register and start a center in Ukraine as well.
Okay, I'm not aware about it much, but I thought we do conduct exams in Ukraine. I will have to check and come back to you. I can email you about Ukraine.
Thank you very much. I think so. That
Yeah,
will be very
sure.
kind. I think so. Yeah, it's coming out of the blue, basically. Last question which I have for today, Mr. Bhujani, and this comes from Dr. Tijore, who wants to know if you can explain on IELTS indicator, something new for COVID times.
Right,
What is
right.
IELTS indicator,
So
sir?
IELTS indicator has been launched as a test which you can take from home, where there is monitoring done online. Okay, so it is available. You can do a Google on IELTS indicator and actually register for it. Uh, the one thing you should check, and that is important, is whether the college that you are applying for, as well as the country you are applying for, are accepting IELTS indicator or not. So many countries are not accepting IELTS indicator for the visas, while some countries are, and similarly, a lot of colleges are not. So there are more than 10,000 colleges which accept IELTS, but out of that, maybe 400 or 500 accept IELTS indicator. So you will have to check with the college and the country's visa authorities before you take the test. But it is very much available here.
Thank you, Mr. Bhujani. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and join us. I would like to thank Mr. Rajesh Bhujani, Mr. Tiwari, both from British Council, one based out of Bombay, another from Delhi, from Calcutta, apologies, and Mrs. Anuradha Jaiswal, who joins us from RSR Global Ranchi, also the director of Gyan Institute, who has been into the business of training and teaching and getting people prepared for IELTS for over the last 10 years. Mr. Bhujani, thank you very much on behalf of RSR Global and all all the people who have joined us today. We come to the end of the session. Thank you very much. You can
Thanks,
contact
everyone.
us. You can contact us, everybody, and write to us on RSR Global on contact@rsrglobal.co. You can call us on 0044 800 256 2978. Mr. Bhojani, Mrs. Anuradha Jaiswal, Mr. Tiwari, everybody else, thank you very much for being here today with us. And we look forward meeting you and talking to you in a very near future. Thank you. Have a lovely
Thank you,
day.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.